Guys, it's your buddy Caden with your Money Minutes, where I interview millionaires and they give us advice on helping families in business. Today, my special guest is Mr. Bedford. Mr. Bedford is a recognized leader in entrepreneurial development. He's worked with hundreds of ambitious, growth-minded Black entrepreneurs and business owners from around the globe to help them and achieve faster growth, greater profits, and an exceptional quality to life. Today, I welcome Mr. Bedford.
Thank you, Caden. How are you, man? I'm so honored to be with you. Thank you for the warm introduction, and thank you for inviting me to share a few words.
Thank you for coming on the show, Mr. Bedford.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So let's dive into the questions.
Sure.
Mr. Bedford, can you tell us more about what you do and how it can help families?
Oh, wow. Great question. I'm an entrepreneurial coach, teacher, and trainer. I use a model that's called the Mastermind model to really help ingrain the principles of entrepreneurship. But to sum it up in a nutshell, when you say what I do and how I help, I just help ambitious Black people primarily to discover their unique talent, skills, and gifts and abilities, and then put them into an entrepreneurial framework and build a career or income around that. And I think that's the catalyst for families to start entrepreneurial businesses and careers. And then, of course, that should translate. We hope that it translates into the entire family and down through the generations. But primarily, I love to help people who are ambitious, who are ready to take the challenges of entrepreneurship, and then we take it from there.
Thank you for telling everyone what you do. Mr. Bedford, you're known as the king of masterminds. For anyone in the audience that doesn't know what a mastermind is, can you explain?
Yeah, that is a great question. And the reason I love masterminds, it's something that's been taught really for thousands and thousands of years of this process of learning, growing, and developing. It's even scriptural. You know, there are passages in the Bible and other sacred or religious texts that talks about when one person has an idea and another person has an idea, and these two people come together, they produce a new creative and productive idea. So the essence of a mastermind is when one mind comes together with another mind. Now you have these two minds that creates this third powerful, more creative and productive mind that brings forth maybe ideas and concepts that the two initial minds didn't think of. And so that's why it's called a mastermind, because you have this meeting of the minds of two or more people sharing their knowledge, their experience, their expertise, and their passions, and they're collectively coming up with solutions or answers to issues and problems to take the group further and further into the future.
Thank you for telling everyone what a mastermind is.
You're welcome.
Mr. Bedford, what are your thoughts on virtual masterminds versus in-person masterminds?
Oh man, that's a loaded question, because I really love virtual masterminds. And the reason I love the virtual masterminds is because of the simplicity of it, and the advancement of technology has allowed us to do what we're doing now. I mean, essentially what you and I are doing is almost like a mastermind, and we're meeting virtually and we're having a conversation and creating new content and ideas. And that allows people who are around the globe to come together. So that's really the value of a virtual mastermind. Of course, the in-person masterminds allows you to really feel the energy in the room from individuals and see individuals face to face. And normally the most productive in-person masterminds are limited to a smaller group of individuals. But when you have a virtual mastermind, you can literally talk to dozens, even hundreds of people from all over the world. So those are the two. If you ask me what's my favorite right now, Caden, buddy, it's virtual masterminds. But I do understand the importance and the value of in-person masterminds.
Thank you for giving us your thoughts on virtual masterminds versus in-person one.
Sure.
Mr. Bedford, what are some ways that kid business owners like me can use masterminds in our business?
Wow, another great question, Caden, and it's interesting because where adults tend to struggle with the virtual masterminds, and it's because of the technology. You know, we're still trying to learn it and get over our fears of dealing with newer and advanced technologies like this. But for some of the youth, children, it's easier. You all are gravitate towards technology and use it better than the adults. And in fact, most times it's the children who are teaching the adults how to use these tools, but the children have been using it all along. I would just say that you're probably one of the keys to the children not just using these platforms or coming together in communities or groups, because that's the other thing about mastermind. The terms can be interchangeable. Mastermind normally applies to business. People who are in business really understand that, but it's simply a group. It's a community. Some people call them support groups, communities, or larger programs. And children such as yourself have learned how to come together and congregate and meet with other children more easily. Now, the key, like I said, a person like yourself, okay, is how do you use this now and turn it into a way to make income and to make profit in your businesses. And it's simply doing what we're doing now and looking at ways to sell your products and services through what we're doing, or either advertising. You can always get sponsors or people like that who would love to sponsor shows and programs like what you have to help generate income. So those are the ways, just a couple of the ways. There are others, but those are two ways to really come together. And if it's a free mastermind, to be able to sell your products and services from the community or the mastermind, or look at just building out the platform of a mastermind, which a lot of people do have free masterminds, and then they have sponsors or they just have other types of advertisement that helps to support the mastermind.
Thank you for giving some kids advice on how they can start masterminds in their business. Mr. Bedford, I did an interview just with a great man, who's close to both of us, Dr. George Fraser.
Yes.
He spoke about how it's important for Black families to spend money in our own communities. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the Black dollar?
Oh, it's critical. Okay, and the younger you start off understanding that the power that we need as families, as you mentioned, Black families, the reason we suffer is because the dollar, we're consumers, right? We're a consumer. We've been turned into a consumer-based people. So when we get income, when we get dollars, we spend it outside of our community. We go buy shoes produced by somebody else, clothes produced by somebody else, or food. We go to restaurants and other cultures, their communities. And so we uplift other communities and spend our money with others. And so we have to have more Black businesses to where the money circulates. And let me just give you an analogy real quick, Caden, that I think maybe other children can understand. Money, or the dollar, it's called currency, right? So currency is like a current, it flows. And anytime that current is disturbed, that means that entity or that body that's using that currency and it's not actually circulating, it slowly dies. So I want you to think about the human body. So the dollar to our families and community is like blood is to the human body, right? So our blood is continuously circulating and going around and around in our body. So therefore, you and I are alive, right? But as soon as if we were cut and that blood starts leaving our body, you and I would slowly decline and ultimately we would die. And that's what happens to the Black community. So the dollar for us to become a bigger, better, more efficient community and have effective and profit-worthy families is to make sure that that dollar starts circulating in our community so that we can grow and be whole.
Thank you. I think it's very important that we teach kids what the family dollar is as well.
Mm-hmm.
When did you know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur, and what was your first business?
Oh, wow. Well, I I think I was an entrepreneur all my life because I never really, bless you.
You.
Yeah, 3 sneezes going on. Bless you. You feel okay?
Yes.
Good. I think I was an entrepreneur all my life. Unlike you, which is a blessing to have a entrepreneurial family to kind of instill these values in you when you're younger, that helps and goes a long way. You can never forget what you're learning now, Caden, from your beautiful family. For myself, I guess we had entrepreneurs, but we didn't call it that. We just had a family full of people who were hustling a lot, just trying to, make ends meet is the term they used to say, just to make the money long enough to be able to pay the bills. And so I've been that way pretty much all my life, but I had a talent. Kate, and I think that's something that we don't talk about a lot, is that we are all born with natural talent, skills, and gifts, but most time we don't use them because we can't see a way to make money from them, or people make fun of our unique talent, skills, and gifts. But for me, I had a gift of performing. And so I sang when I was younger, Kate. When I was your age, I was on stage doing Michael Jackson routines and other artists. And I was actually in a position when I turned 14, started making money from it. So my first entrepreneurial journey was me creating my own music and selling it. And then eventually I got into concert promotion. So those were the first ventures into entrepreneurship, was me creating, using my own talents to make music to sell. And then I slowly learned by promoting myself that I could actually promote other stars or other entertainers and artists and make money. So it was in the music industry first as a performer, but then as a promoter.
Thank you for telling us on what your first business was and what you did when you were younger.
Thank you.
What was the biggest mistake you made in business?
Okay. I done made so many. I've made so many, but I would say this: the biggest mistake was borrowing money to fund my business. And in this case, it was real. So my next phase of my entrepreneurial journey was to get into real estate. And I started raising private money to fund my real estate. And here's the thing: it was going good as long as real estate was going up and everybody was excited about real estate. But as soon as it started turning south, or there was a problem in the market, the value of the real estate decreased. I couldn't sell the properties as easily. But the mistake is now you have people or money tied to it, and they want their money. I don't know if you've ever seen this commercial that says, "It's my money and I want it now." That's a famous commercial that goes around, but people needed their monies because the market, it took a serious turn, and the real estate wouldn't allow me to generate the income to pay them on time or pay them back, period. So because the real estate market went through a serious challenge then. And so just to sum it up in a nutshell, from that lesson, I learned that debt is a form of slavery. When you're working to service debt for your business or even in your personal life, that is a very bad mistake. Debt should be used very wisely as leverage to grow, And it takes skill and experience to do that. So my biggest mistake was taking on debt to fund my business early on. And it just appeared like I was working to pay the debt. I wasn't making profit. I was paying everybody else. And so that's the mistake that I would hope that you and other young budding entrepreneurs avoid, Caden, is taking on unnecessary debt.
I would say my biggest mistake that I made in business was creating a product that didn't go as planned or didn't sell as much. So now I'm actually replacing it with the new project I'm working on. That's my puzzle, which will be coming out near Christmas time.
Awesome, awesome.
What
That's
are what are your thoughts on raising business-minded kids?
it's essential. It's so important. The education system that we are part of, buddy, is really not as old as people think. When you're just born a few years ago, I mean, I'm older than you, but you tend to think that the education system that we have has always been in place, and it hasn't. It's just literally a little over 100 years. And so your grandfather or your great grandfather and grandmother, they were probably up under a different form of education, where in that time period, that's what people were taught to do, to look at themselves, their talents, their skills, and their gifts, and then put it into the marketplace, whether it was farming or starting a shoe company or making shoes, making hats. They were creative and they were just business minded. But at the turn of the century into the industrial age, where the larger corporations funded the education, their primary focus was to make sure that everybody learned how to become employees instead of business owners. And so people went to school and they became employee minded instead of business minded. What you're doing, Caden, and others are doing, you're reframing that, you're reshaping that, you're adding new education, and you're forcing us to think about becoming business minded from the very beginning. And that's how important the work that you do is, Caden. So I just want, I salute you for what you do, but that's how important it is, because you're not only educating, but you're motivating and inspiring other young people to think business minded, and it's so important.
Thank you for that. And I think it's very important to teach business-minded, to raise business-minded kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Bedford, what advice do you have for parents that want to start a business, but the parents feel like they're already busy enough?
You said, what would I get advice to the parents who want to start a business, or the children who want to start a business?
The parent.
Who want to start a business to read a book. That's one of the things that stops so many of us who have, as I alluded to earlier, we've been raised in a certain form of educational system, and then we got a job or something like that. And then most times as adults, two things happen. We either just get tired of the job, and so we enter into entrepreneurship by default. We either tired of the job, or we hate the boss or the people that we work around. So we like, I'm out of here. I quit. I'm going to start my own thing. And yeah, that's the right thing. But what happens is we're doing it out of either default, frustration, or we were fired and we have no choice. But now that means we're starting the business without the knowledge, right? So we're starting the business with the same old employee mindset. And here's the thing that most adults don't understand, Caden, is that the things that work as an employee or in corporate America, it doesn't work as an entrepreneur, because you're the boss. You have to be in charge of everything, and that requires knowing what to do. And so the first thing that I would tell those parents who are either tired or frustrated or felt that they've wanted to do their own thing all their life is, yeah, you want to do that, but you got to get the knowledge first. So read a book, start listening to Caden's show, start, buying Caden's products for yourself and the children, because even as adults, when we're starting over like that, we're starting from the very beginning. So we need the basics, the things that you're going to be sharing Caden, in all of your products. And so read a book and then begin to associate yourself with other entrepreneurs or people who are building or doing their own thing. And that's how you begin to grow as an entrepreneur.
That is very important for parents to learn and research about business before they dive right into it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mr. Bedford, this is my final question. It
Sure.
doesn't have anything to do with business, but I like to ask everyone, what is your guilty pleasure?
Ooh, my guilty pleasure. Probably eating big old bags of Twizzlers at the movies when I know I shouldn't be eating a whole bag of Twizzlers. So I enjoy it, but afterwards I'm feeling guilty. And in fact, I'm guilty while I'm doing it because I got it in my pocket and I'm eating the Twizzlers so nobody can see me. So I'm feeling guilty even while I'm doing it. So that's my guilty pleasure, is eating these enormous bags of Twizzlers when I know I shouldn't be doing it.
Mr. Bedford, I would like to thank you so much I would like to thank you for spending your time with me and my audience today. Do you have any final words?
Well, my final words is, first, thank you. I'm honored that you would even ask me to share whatever it is that I could share. But my final words are to get knowledge. Two things. Discover your unique talent, skill, gift, or purpose, because your strengths, and lean into that to build your business. Most children get it. So don't let anyone tell you that thing that makes you unique, that thing that you love to do, it may seem strange and odd to other people, but lean into that and do it, because that is what God has given you, is your unique talent, your unique strength, your unique gift. And it is uniqueness of each and every one of us as individuals that's going to take us further into the future and create new products and new services, because we're all different and we're going to keep coming up with new, fresh, and innovative ideas. So discover your uniqueness, your unique talent, skills, gifts, and purpose. And then the second thing, Caden, is you must study. You got to read. That's the only way to build up and to polish and cultivate those talents, is to study and read and grow and develop your potential.
Thank you for that advice. And Mr. Bedford, who else would you recommend for me to interview on my Money Minute show?
Oh, wow. Off the top of my head, I'll give you a few names. Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, another mentor of mine, Michael V. Roberts, another mentor of mine. Oh, wow. There's so many. I don't want to, I'm trying to think who would be the perfect. You've already interviewed Dr. Frazier. You probably interviewed a few of the other people that I would recommend, because,
I've interviewed Dr. Michael V. Roberts.
Okay, yeah. See, you're interviewing. See, all of these are my mentors as well. But so yeah, let me think. But I would say Dr. Dennis Kimbrough would be awesome. If you can get Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, another icon who co-wrote the iconic book Think and Grow Rich. Most people know that book. It was written by Napoleon Hill. But what Napoleon Hill discovered was that Black people, some of the things that I had mentioned earlier in our interview, Napoleon Hill discovered that Black people needed a new way of understanding Think and Grow Rich. So it was Napoleon Hill who literally started writing another version for Think and Grow Rich, specifically for Black people. Unfortunately, he passed away before he could complete it. And it was the Napoleon Hill Foundation who reached out to Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, and Dr. Dennis Kimbrough completed that work. So he is actually the co-author. Most people they think that he took some principles of Think and Grow Rich. He literally is the co-author of Think and Grow Rich, a Black choice. And he's a professor at Clark University. And I think he would enrich you and your audience tremendously if you would interview him.
I actually have the book behind me over here.
Yep, there you go. So you know how profound it is, but a lot of people just don't know that history, that is not that he studied something and came up with some principles. He is actually the co-author with Napoleon Hill in that work, which kind of shows you that this thinking had been around a long time. And we as Black people, again, you, Caden, what you're doing, this is unique to us. This is different to our community. And you need people who have this type of perspective to kind of help us to get it. And I think he would be excellent for your show.
Thank you for giving me some recommendations.
My pleasure.
Once again, thank you for joining me. And remember, if Caden can, you can too.
I love it.